Hey, this is Robin Wata.
And this is George Ngatuvai, and you're watching the Extra Season podcast.
Hell yeah.
Period.
So excited to have George on here. I have known George for a long ass time. My family, we used to live in Santa Ana, California, Juice County. But then we moved here when I was really young to Utah, and George and his family were like the first Polynesians that we met out here. And I don't know, it kind of just made our transition into Utah a lot easier. So I've known you since I was 7?
Since we were kids.
Yeah, 7, 8. And we have done so much together, especially in creative spaces. George is a photographer, and so I just want you to kind of introduce yourself, let people know who the hell you are if they're not familiar. I mean, they should be familiar, but for those who aren't, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Robin. I am so grateful for this chance to be on this podcast. I am George Ngatuvai, born and raised right here in Happy Valley. And I'm a photographer with emphasis on fashion, anything culture, and sports and music.
Nice. And so because I don't know, kind of worked as a stylist for the past 10 years. You've been somebody that we've collaborated on multiple projects. We still do hella projects together, and I just freaking love it. And the fact that we've known each other this long and we've seen a lot of growth within these creative spaces with you as a photographer, me within fashion as a stylist. It's just been really cool to, I don't know, just do that together. Definitely. And network with people. I mean, we've done multiple projects like Pacificus, my magazine. You helped me shoot multiple concepts for that magazine. We've been to New York Fashion Week together, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I do just kind of want to start off with the beginning of your photography, what that looked like, and where you see yourself going. But what initially sparked your interest in photography?
Growing up, I was so lucky to have my dad, who was a photographer, but very avid into family history. And so he always carried around a camera, documenting our family functions, especially for his family history. But it didn't cross my mind for me to be a photographer. It's so funny growing up in high school and junior high. I did yearbook in junior high and I loved it. But then in high school, I thought photographers were weird. And I was like, I don't want to be one of them.
No, thank you. Next.
And then after my mission, I went to Snow College and I thought I could follow the football dream. And then after my second year, I was like, yeah, this is not for me. And right then, at that same time, my sister Inga was playing with Dolly's camera, my oldest brother. He had a camera and we're playing around with it. And she took our cousin Vita senior photos. And at that time, it was like a light bulb moment for me. I was like, I need redirection in my life. I don't know where I'm going. Let's give this a try.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it ever since. That was in 2017, so.
Dang. And so I guess when Inga started doing these senior photos, were you kind of looking at it as man, I should kind of pick this up to, I don't know, just make some extra money?
Exactly
or
that.
Okay. Hustler. I love it. But kind of going into that, when you said, okay, you had this light bulb moment, you wanted to pick up this camera and start taking pictures of people to make some money. Did it just start off as senior photos, or were you kind of messing around with different things like weddings and stuff like that? How did it go?
Definitely messing around with everything because we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And we were giving everything a try. July 2020 or July 2017, my grandma's brother passed away, or his wife, Anna. And that was our first funeral we shot. And we just did it just because we wanted to capture my dad and document those photos.
Yeah.
And the month after, my uncle Feletti, may he rest in peace, he just passed away last week. His village reunion happened from Folaha in Salt Lake, and he asked if we could come take photos because he thought we did it. And I was like, yeah, we'll come do it.
No, I think this is dope because I think it's cool that you dabbled into different things, especially funerals and reunions or whatever, family events. Those are such big Tongan things. Exactly. I really think that helped you lay the groundwork with being a cultural photographer. Like you said,
Definitely.
You mentioned fashion, you do culture. But I love that. I don't know. Are we the only people who hire photographers for funerals and stuff?
I think so.
Is that just a Tongan, Polynesian thing?
That's so funny you mentioned that because I didn't realize that until you asked that question. Because
even when my grandma passed away, you came and shot at our that funeral. I think my mom had hired you. Mm-hmm. But I don't. Again, it might just be a Pacific Islander thing, but because so much family is coming together, even though it's for a sad event, I think there's so much joy to be captured in those moments when you're being
100%.
like reunited with family members, when they're there to support you and your family. And so that's cool that you went from like senior photos, shooting like different family events. I mean, eventually you ended up shooting like weddings and stuff like that, right? And you did that for like a long time. That was like your bread and butter. So
Yes.
what was that like for you?
It was really fun at the first part of it. So I think me and Inga, my sister, started doing weddings together around 2018. So like shortly the year after, and we had fun. I was loving it, and then I got burnt out 2020, and then that's when my
Well, we're in
passion
Utah. There's hella weddings out here.
all the time. Every weekend, there's a wedding.
But not even that. People were like flying you out to shoot weddings.
It was super fun. So grateful for them. I got to go to Hawaii, Texas, California. Were a few of the
Mind
states
you,
I got
most
to.
of these were all poly people who just happened to come across your Instagram or
Yes.
something. But I think, again, this is just a cool thing to talk about because at the time, I just don't feel like there were a ton of Pacifica photographers like
There
focusing on
weren't.
these things. Like there are a lot of photographers here in Utah, and there are more now, like more Pacific Islander photographers. But I just think at that time, it was just like we had very limited options of who was
Yes.
available. So I feel like when people within our community were seeing like these different posts of you doing funerals, weddings, whatever, senior photos, it was just like, oh shoot, I really want to bring this guy out here so he could come do it. And so you traveled hella for that. But how did you get started in the wedding business? Did you have to like shadow anybody specifically, or did you literally just go into it and be like, I can do this?
Exactly that. Because right after that first gig we had in July, August was my cousin's wedding.
Oh, shut
And
up.
we shot it. It was my cousin on my mom's side,
Yeah.
Tuku, marrying my niece on my dad's side, Nana. She's from Arizona, and then we grew up here in Orem. The
Dang.
wedding was here in Utah. And so we loved it ever since. After that, then we're like, hey, we're ready for more. So we just started shooting more weddings.
But you like freaking dived in. You're
We
like,
did.
that's
we
freaking
did.
funny. And so something I'm curious about, and I'm sure other people may be curious about as well, is like, what was it like kind of starting your photography business? Like you said you were always seeing your dad with the camera. You messed around in yearbook when you were in middle school. But when you decided to pick up that camera and really turn it into a business, what did that look like for you?
It looked like me wanting to show the world what's in my head. I wanted them to have a sneak peek, not all the way, but I wanted to show, hey, this is my view of what a photographer is like, and I want to show my passions. And I also wanted to share with the younger generation of the Polynesians that were raised here in the States that you don't have to take the sports route, because I thought I needed to do that. And then there's so much more opportunities out there, including in the creative arts.
Yeah. So when you said that you didn't want to go into sports, you found that out in like after college, right? You said like your second year, you were like, this is not it. What was that aha moment for you that was like, I think I need to find something else?
It was my second spring ball. We were getting ready for spring workouts and everything. And I just remember dreaded every day. I was like, why am I here? What am I doing here?
Do you feel like you were kind of like following the crowd in that aspect where, I mean, because we have Pacific Islander heritage, culture, so many people go into football, so many people go into athletics. So do you feel like you were kind of conforming to that and it wasn't necessarily something that interested you? You were just doing it because other people were doing it? Or did you like genuinely love football and you wanted to try it out?
Half of it was that, and the other half was I really thought I loved it.
I mean, you have the height and the build for it, so it kind of just made sense.
Yeah, so I was like, make use of it.
Mind you, George was this size when we were 8 years old.
I thought I was
George has been
skinnier.
this tall and this big since we were 8.
Yeah, half of it was that reason, and the other half was I thought it would be fun like high school. Me being oblivious to everything, I thought it would be so fun. And then I got there, I was like, no, it's not like high school. It's very different, very opposite.
No, that's funny
You
that you
have to
say
love
that
it.
you like found out later because I knew hella early in life that athletics was not going to be for me. I mean, like I loved playing volleyball like recreationally,
Yeah.
like doing it for fun. I just didn't see it as a career moment for me. But yeah, I mean, when you decided that football wasn't going to be for you, I love that you said that athletics is not the only thing that we can thrive in. And that's kind of why I've been so vocal and adamant about showcasing different Pacifica creatives, because there is more than one avenue to finding success. And so I just want to know kind of like the process of what you decided to do after football, because I know that in college you were pre-med, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you decide that you like want to be a doctor, you're doing pre-med. Why did you start going that route? Or was that already like predetermined that you were going to go into medicine while trying to become like successful in athletics?
Yeah, that was a thing growing up where I already have an uncle, Jimmy Ngatuvai, who's a doctor. Molly's his dad.
Yeah.
And so growing up, I was like, oh, yeah, I would just be like Jimmy. He's doing great. He does so much for our
You're
family.
like, I see Jimmy and he's thriving.
Yes, he's doing just
I'll have whatever
fine.
Jimmy's having.
Yep. And what his son, Micah, just graduated med school this year.
Oh, dang.
Out in Florida, I think. So they're doing awesome. I was like, oh, I want to do that as well.
Yeah.
Little did I know the effort and everything that takes
You're
place.
like, you saw how
behind
many
that.
years of school had to go into it.
I was like, yeah, that is not for me. But the thought was there.
And so eventually you end up switching from pre-med to photography. And I know we had talked about this like a while ago, and you always told me that you were going to be like, you were just going to go into medicine, like you were going to graduate. And then I don't know what happened, but you ended up switching your major to photography.
Yes.
But I want to know what made that switch. Like, why did you determine that that would be the best route for you?
To be a photographer, you do not need schooling. You don't need a degree. Everything you can get from YouTube, other photographers, workshops. But I just love it so much that I was like, might as well go to school, take lessons, courses.
I
From
mean,
these
you're already doing the
teachers.
damn thing, so it makes sense.
And I just have a love for learning more. I love learning in that setting with my other peers, with students, just to learn from that different aspect. I'm all for it and I love it. So
No, that's really cool. So I'm really curious. You've never really kept yourself in one lane within photography. You've really dabbled into multiple different spaces with senior photos, weddings, and that eventually turned into fashion editorials. And then it also turned into cultural editorials. I love that you don't limit yourself to like one specific thing. And I think that shows that you're allowed to have multiple interests. I feel like a lot of times people just want to be like the go-to wedding photographer, but you've kind of kept that lane open for multiple different things. And so I'm curious, like, do you have a personal favorite of like what type of photography you like to do?
ooh, that is so hard. I think of the different niches of photography I choose to do as my children. I don't have children of my own, but I love them so much. And I think the one right now I love the most is fashion editorial.
Okay.
All the niches of photography I do, so cultural stuff, music, concerts, fashion editorial, and sports are all different aspects of my life that I have passions for and where I wish I would love to continue to pursue, but through the camera is the closest thing I can do.
Yeah.
For example, sports. I can't play it anymore, but I still want to be around it. Sports photography it is. Music. I love music, listening to music. Can I sing? Hell no.
No, try to sing.
Oh, not today.
You're
Cannot
like,
sing.
sorry, my vocal cords are
Yeah, I have to get
strained.
Yeah, Kaylani's coming next month. I have to back up for her. So sorry, guys, I can't. And so, photography is my closest thing to music, and I love it. Being around an artist, hearing about how they come up with music, their lyrics and songs, and just hearing it is so raw to me. I love it, and coming as a photographer just makes it so much sweeter to me.
No, I love that because, again, like how you're kind of explaining it is like, yeah, you may not be an expert in those fields, but it's a way for you to work with experts and just to get to know more about that space. And so shooting concerts, editorial, fashion, again, you're not like a one trick pony. And that's what I freaking love. Horse force. But I know that for me and you, we've gone to New York Fashion Week together. We've gone a couple times. When was the first time you went to New York Fashion Week and what was that like?
Oh, that was my favorite part because that's when it really opened this foreign world up to me, which was fall of 2018. You and Penny went to a workshop done by a phenomenal photographer, Stacy.
I love Stacy.
She is awesome. Team Stacy here all the way. And you told me about this workshop you went of hers. And then I started following her on Instagram. And later, a few months after I started following her, she posted that she had a few spots left to shadow her at New York Fashion Week. I took it. It was in September of 2018. I flew out there, met up with her, changed my life
Was
forever.
that the first time you met her? Was
It
in New York?
was.
Dang,
Yes.
crazy.
And she was living out there at that time, I think. No, she was here in Utah.
Yeah, I think
I remember
she
she
was in
moved
Utah.
there, but probably later.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was my introduction to how the fashion world works, fashion shows. We did some street style shooting where we would photograph some of the people attending the shows there, and I fell in love with it. It was such a new world to me that I fell in love with it from the jump.
I think what's so cool about New York Fashion Week is like there's so many things going on and you can pick what things intrigue you the most. I mean, like for me as a stylist, like I love working as a dresser. Like I would volunteer and like work at different fashion shows, stuff like that. But I feel like photographers have it so good because people want you at the shows. People want you taking pictures. They need the clout. They need the documentation of who's attending their events and stuff like that. I'm glad that you mentioned Stacy because I feel like Stacy is just such a creative mastermind. Stacy Bueller.
She's a genius.
And so, yeah, me and Penny Fuimaono, we went to a workshop that she hosted, and that really kind of opened up my mind to what it could be what it could be like as a stylist working with photographers. Mind you, I wasn't a photographer, but I went to this workshop anyways because I was like, I really just want to get a better perception of what photographers have to deal with on set. And it was kind of cool to get that firsthand experience. But with New York Fashion Week, me and you, we went like, what, February?
Yes.
Dang, I feel like that was forever ago. But I just love that, I don't know, like having somebody that I've known for so long be with me in those spaces. It just makes it a little bit easier because New York is effing psycho.
Never know what to expect.
So me and you at New York Fashion Week were very close with Veronica Pomea, and she invited us over to her apartment. And it was cool seeing how many polys she got together in the Big Apple just to kick it and like get to know each other. And it was dope hearing all about their experiences and stuff like that. And that's what I think is so cool is that as a community, I feel like regardless of where we go, whether it be here in Utah or in New York City or wherever, like we can find other Pacific Islanders and just hit it off right away.
That's our vibe.
Yeah.
Shout out V, we love you.
And so, I mean, like with New York Fashion Week, have there been any like cool highlights that have really stuck out to you over your past couple trips that you've gone over? Like what have been some cool moments?
The coolest moments I have to have so far is just meeting other creatives. That's what I love out of it. When I first started shooting New York Fashion Week, I had this goal of, okay, I want to work with these brands and I need to do this and that. And then later, as I found myself, I found my purpose behind attending New York Fashion Week change. And I loved meeting other creatives like Judy, that photographer.
Yeah.
Talented photographer from Texas. I met some other influencers or people who love to do fashion through clothes, jewelry, and that's their niche. And collabing with them and doing projects like Veronica, Jazz, Swizz.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that mean the most to me. Like that shoot we did with Jazz, Swizz, and
Oh my
Veronica.
gosh, let's talk about that because we freaking love Veronica Pomea.
We do.
We asked her if she would be down to do a shoot with us when we went out to New York this last time, and it was so cool. We got to do a shoot with her best friend Jazz, and then her boyfriend Swizz. I think something that was so dope is that we had ended up meeting Malia.
Yep.
And she's also Tongan, and she ended up doing hair for this shoot. And we got this studio space. We went on over and we started taking these photos. And I just remember being there and I was like, damn, this whole shoot was put together by Tongans. And I don't know. I've just never
forget
it's
that.
not often that you're in spaces where like beginning to end, you just have like Pacifica creatives putting this shit together and getting this shit done, you know? And so, yeah, it was just such a cool thing. And that's probably one of my highlights from New York Fashion Week. But it kind of just reminds me about some of the work that we did with Pacificus. So that was a magazine that I started to highlight Pacifica creatives. And George was one of the first people I hit up to be like, please help me shoot the cover of this magazine.
It was my honor.
And so George will go down in history as the person who shot the first issue of Pacificus. And that shoot, you actually had the creative concept for it. And you were the one who said like, hey, this is something that I want to do. I want to work with like clotheslines, but instead of like hanging clothes, you wanted to hang like ngatu and like tapa and like all this different stuff. And I just remember like seeing your mood board for it, and I was like, hey, we can make this happen. We narrowed down a model and we shot with Sinu, right?
Yep.
Finau. And that was probably such a like was such a cool moment for me because I was like, damn, I don't think I've ever seen culture like this before. You know what I mean? And it was one thing for us to like rep our Tongan culture, but it was another to like put it in a magazine, like put it out there for the world to see. And there were a lot of positive things that came from that, some negative.
Always. There's always that one negative Nancy or a
So
few.
I do want to talk about that a little bit and kind of get your thoughts about it, because I loved that shoot that we did with Sinu. But I think something that you and I really talked about was showing our Tongan culture, but also showing that American culture that we were raised in. I mean, me and you, we were born and raised here in the US, first generation, right?
Correct.
And I think there's just like so many learning curves of how to
So
balance
many.
Tongan culture
So many.
and like American culture. And for that photo shoot specifically, we were like, let's try to find a way to like marry the two. And we got some heat. I mean, I'm going to say we because people had some things to say about that photo shoot, specifically with Sinu not wearing like a modest dress because she's wearing a spaghetti strap dress. And I'm just curious, like, do you think that that should have been like a concern for people, or do you think they just weren't understanding our concept? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, to me, when I was planning that top that she was wearing was like not a concern for me. And it was a highlight, or an ode, I guess you can say, to represent we're not from Tonga, and they wanted to show the possibility of where we could take our culture to.
Yeah.
And in no means did I want to disrespect our Tongan culture. I just wanted to bring the past to the present and aim it towards the future.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I think culturally, like, we have very specific standards with modesty, and that's even outside of religion. Like, culturally, we have a lot of standards with modesty. And so I just remember, like, some of the comments I was getting when Pacificus was still a thing. Like, people were just like, this doesn't represent my culture. This doesn't represent me. And I was like, and that's fine. It represents us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who represent like who it represents. And if it doesn't, I don't know, strike a tone with you, then that's fine. But I think that was what was so cool about Pacificus and working with you, because it kind of helped me push the envelope in such a good way where it's like, yes, we want to rep our culture, but we want to be able to show like, I don't know, just like multiple aspects of it. And you're like, I feel like you're hella more Tongan than me. I mean, we grew up out here, but like, I think because like you're always in these Tongan events and stuff like that, like you experience culture so much more different than I do. And that's like, I think that's such a cool thing. And like, I feel like that's why people gravitated towards you as a photographer, is because, again, you are very aware of these cultural things and just aware of the importance of these specific events. But yeah, I mean, like with Pacificus, that wasn't the only shoot you helped me with. You've helped me with like multiple covers for that magazine. I remember like we did a shoot for Studio 11 when we shot Afa had designed some stuff, and like you were there, not even to shoot, just to like help out. But that was like another cool moment for me. Yeah. And again, it just shows like a little bit more about your character, because you weren't even shooting the damn shoot, but you were like, I'll be there. I'll like be helping the models get ready or whatever. And like, I'll be helping with the setup and cleanup and whatever. And I just think that speaks a lot to how you really want people to find success in their creative lanes. And so you've always been hella supportive. And so something I want to know more about is, with your photography, like, are there any like big goals that you have in mind that you want to accomplish?
Definitely. So I set up my photography goals within 3 sections. So I have my 5-year plan, 10-year plan, and 15-year plan. So my first 5 years.
Do you update that like every year or?
I would say every month it changes.
Dang.
Just because like I'll find something or something will drop out of my priority list, and I'll be like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore.
Okay, well, let me try to work on my 1-week plan, and then I'll touch base with you about how the hell you drop a 10-year plan.
And don't get me wrong, it's not even like detailed or everything, but I just know what I want to accomplish within that time span. So within these first 5 years, I'm focusing solely on my fashion editorial career goals. Everyone knows that I also do cultural stuff and then sports and music. So I want to do that later on, but I really want to focus on fashion editorial. And this came because this past year was a reflective year for me because I really thought I could do everything. And with what I want to achieve in life, I have to really just buckle down and just focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah, that's like me.
can't
I
chase
feel
it
like
all.
because I'm multi-passionate, there's so many different things I want to learn
Definitely.
about and I want to do, but I can't give all of them my love and attention.
Definitely.
You know? And that just goes like, again, it's just like your kids, you know? It's like
As I can imagine.
all of your kids are different. They have different needs and you have to be able to accommodate for each of them. And I think like I relate to that so much because again, like I have a lot of experience as a fashion stylist, but I dabbled into different things. I mean, I launched a magazine. I have a podcast now. And there's like days where I feel like I can do it all. And then as I let it sit there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like freaking drowning. And then it becomes not fun anymore.
Exactly.
And I get so burned out. And so for you, I feel like you take on more projects than I do because again, you're focusing on fashion editorial right now, but with all these other things that you have interest in, how do you try to balance that out? And what are your tips to balancing that out?
First, I had a problem.
You're like, there's no balancing.
That was that. So because I don't have kids, it's easier for me just to get up and accept projects or do projects and everything like that. But this past year, due to like personal experiences and me realizing what I want in life, I realized I can't do everything.
Yeah.
And I have to really write down my priorities and what I want to accomplish. And since then, it's helped me filter out what can I do, what I can't do, what's going to help me in the end game of my goals.
So with fashion kind of being your priority right now, what does that look like? What are the things that you're trying to accomplish?
So my biggest goal is to work with athletes. So I love how GQ magazine will highlight some athletes.
Or like when
sometimes
Vogue does like their Olympics issue.
Yes.
It's like one of my favorite things.
They're phenomenal. That's what I want to do. And I do want to incorporate Polynesian athletes and highlight their Polynesian culture as well. But I love that space right now.
Yeah. Well, I think like something that I've really kind of seen you push the envelope with is like sports editorial.
Yes.
Because if there's one thing that I feel like our community can work on, especially within athletics, it's branding.
Yes.
And we have so many superstars in athletic
So many
spaces. And I wish that they would dedicate as much time to like building their personal brand that they do into their athletics, because that is longevity there.
Oh, definitely.
Like when you think of like Angel Reese or like Caitlin Clark, right? Like they had kind of established their personal brand even before they got into the WNBA. And I think that's something I want to see more with like Pacific Islander like athletes. I want to make sure that, okay, like we can help you guys secure the bag. Like worst case scenario, if you got injured, you can still find other ways to make money.
You have a safety net to fall back
and
on.
we have like, I mean, like I'm sure you know of other people who have gotten like injured or had to like end their career early in the NFL. And it just makes me sad, like seeing like all that hard work and effort. But I'm just like, yes, but there's like more than one way to make money as an athlete and like brand deals and stuff like that. And I think that you kind of diving into this space is actually kind of important. Should we try to find more people for you to shoot?
Please, I am open.
D1 athletes only.
Please, no.
No second strings over here.
No, please, because I just don't want to see this. I want to focus my time on athletes that will have a great time, have a great attitude, because I've worked with some athletes who have the worst attitudes and they don't even play. I'm like,
you're like,
disrespect.
Okay.
Like, here am I jumping these hoops for this athlete.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say any names. And just for you to ride the bench.
No, say names. Go ahead.
Just to ride the bench and not get playing time. And I'm out here making sure you get the best content. Delete.
delete. Blocks.
Just like meet me halfway, please. Something.
And before you guys start blowing up his phone, all you athletes out there, make sure you're at least a little charismatic when you're in front of the camera.
Please.
Because I will say this. I feel like me and you have worked with so many Pacific Islanders for different shoots, and they get in front of the camera and they like completely shut down.
They're free.
I'm just like, can you like smile? Can you?
Please practice in your mirrors, please.
Practice those poses before you hit George up about any type
But
of
I'll help
sports
too. I'll help too.
editorial.
So
No, but I think that's such a cool, unique space because I don't think that there's a lot of people really diving into that, like helping athletes showcase themselves in a different light, whether it be for brand deals or even just like their personal fashion sense. Like you see athletes on Vogue, you see athletes on Elle magazine
yeah.
and stuff like that. It's not uncommon for there to be some type of crossover into fashion.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, like, even for people who want to work with like Nike or Adidas one day, like that is fashion. That is something that people have to kind of open their minds up about. And so that's dope that you really want to focus on that. What has that looked like? Like, are there any specific things you're trying to accomplish when it comes to fashion sport editorials?
Yes. My biggest goal is to get published in Vogue.
Okay.
So, Vogue or GQ magazine, where we have an athlete, a Polynesian athlete that I worked with, either be on the cover. I would love to be on the cover, but just featured within the magazine itself. And I would love to highlight their Polynesian culture as well.
No, that would be so dope. I mean, like, there's more and more like Pacifica representation that's
I
kind of
love
like
it.
hitting the pages of Vogue and the pages of like different companies underneath Condé Nast. I mean, me and you just barely did a shoot with JP Foliaki,
Yeah.
and he
Can't
was
wait
in
to drop
Teen Vogue.
those.
Yeah, we're excited to share those. But with JP, he was in Teen Vogue.
I saw that.
And there's like other people who have made like the pages of Vogue and different things like that as well. But again, it's not nearly as much representation as we would like. But hey, that's like been a goal of mine as well, is to try and launch something for our community. I think I started that magazine Pacificus because I was like, am I going to wait for like Vogue magazine to highlight our community the way that I want to? And so I was like, no one else is doing it, so I can try. And it was a little
Props to you,
short lived. I mean, I only did like
Hey, but
4
you did
printed
it.
issues.
You did that. You
I know.
did
I
that.
think this just goes back to like, because I'm multi passionate, I just felt like I couldn't give it the love and attention that it deserved. But this podcast is just a continuation of that. It's something that I wanted to put out there to continuously uplift our community, show them some dope ass creatives that I've known for a
Yeah,
long
for real.
time and introduce them to their work. But yeah, I think something for me, like a bucket list item, would be creating like Vogue Pacific. Like we do have Vogue Australia. I think that's cool. But like having Vogue Pacific where there's just like, we have so many people that we can highlight. We have so many people that we can put on the pages of that publication. Like we have Jason Momoa, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Dinah Jane, Veronica Pomete. We have so many people who are making like these big waves in the entertainment industry. And that's not even touching any of the athletes within sports. And kind of just talking about sports, I know that you've been working as a photographer for this documentary, specifically Pacific Roots, right?
Yes.
And so I want to know a little bit more about that. Like, how did you get started on that team, and what is Pacific Roots?
First off, shout out to Talia Thompson. This is her baby, her passion project. She went to school, had this idea of doing this documentary. This was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Was she in school for film? Is that what
Yes,
she was
yeah,
studying?
she went to like this creative art school in San
Nice.
Francisco.
I've never met her. I want to.
Oh yeah, you would love her. She's dope. She's a go-getter.
Yeah.
And so she had this trip back to Samoa, where she met Jesse Sapolu, who the documentary is based off of, who was the center for the 49ers, 4-time Super Bowl champ, appeared in the Super or All Pro Bowl. He has all these accolades. He's the man. And then after that conversation, this dropped. And I'm so grateful for Talia because she's the one that included me into this project. Haven't met her before. She saw my work on Instagram, DM'd me if we could meet over dinner, and we did.
Dang, that's how she hit you up. Like she just saw your work on Instagram and was like,
And DM'd
"Oh,
me.
this is somebody I want to work with."
Yes. And
That's
she
dope.
told
The
me.
power of social media, folks.
Yes, definitely.
Don't sleep on social media. This is why, again, for athletes, focusing on editorial work or like how you portray yourself as a personal brand, it can lead you places.
Yeah.
George's personal brand, culture, sports, fashion, it kind of led you to this moment.
Definitely.
And so, like, she hits you up, and then what? You guys go out, and she tells you about this documentary. And then what? How did
So we meet up for dinner. I was in Hawaii when she first DM'd me for my friend's wedding. I come back from Hawaii. We meet up at Bukati Beppo. I heard that place is not even there anymore.
it's closed. R.I.P. Buca de
But
Beppo.
we had great conversations there. I met Talia in person for the first time there. She laid down the whole thing, what she's been working on, what she aims to do, what they've done so far, and what they expect to do in the future. I was sold the first few seconds, but
Yeah, I feel like that's very much an alignment of the things that you want to
Yes.
accomplish. And so what does you as a photographer, what does that look like working for a documentary? Are you just going and kind of like photographing behind the scenes content, or what are the things that they have you working on?
So I am one of two behind the scenes photographers. The other one is Penny Fuimono. When I first was talking to Talia and she was telling me about this, and I was like, can I please bring Penny along? She's like my safety net. We can't do anything without each other.
I hate you, Penny.
So it's like, Penny is an amazing, phenomenal photographer. So after I asked to bring Penny along and Talia accepted, I was like, oh yeah, bring her along. That would be fine. This was perfect for Penny because this is like her bread and butter.
It's like right up her lane.
Yes.
She loves shooting sports.
And documentary, BTS, all that. That's totally her jam. And this is where she thrived. And you'll see her work. She did just that.
And with the two of you, something that I loved seeing is while you guys were working on this is being able to shoot on the field at NFL games, at like the 49er games. What the hell was that like? Was this your first time doing that? Because obviously it opened up that opportunity for you. But I mean, like, what was that like being able to be on the field for an NFL game and shooting behind the scenes content?
It was unreal. I still think about that very first game we did. Truly unreal. Like, I still felt like it was a dream. But I was just so honored because we were there for the documentary. We were there to elevate our Pacifica people in this space. And I was just so full of gratitude, happy, giddy, scared, excited, all at the same time.
You're like screaming, crying, throwing up.
All at the same time. But I do want to share this one cool experience we had. One of the Niner games we shot, what they played the Chargers. And while we were doing our pregame shots, going through our list, we run into one of their coaches. His name was Coach Teamwood. I can't remember what position he coached. But he was a real cool guy. We were chopping it up with him on the sideline. And one thing he mentioned, I'll never forget, he was like, I've never seen Polynesians work on the field like this. I've seen them security and, of course, playing in the game, but I've never seen it in this capacity. And that was just so cool. Because,
and this is just like tip of the iceberg, you know? I mean, like, even just seeing you and Penny there, he was like, dang, this is something I've never really seen before.
Definitely.
But that's so cool that this documentary is providing opportunities for people in our community to highlight other people in our community.
Yeah.
But that just shows that we're freaking capable. We can tell our own stories if we really want to.
1,000%.
And I just feel like there's a lot of times creatives within the Pacifica community just don't get the accolades that they deserve. And I feel like if we just had the opportunity, we'd be able to shine an even bigger light on all of the Pacifica creatives out there. But I mean, what's been like your favorite part so far working with the documentary?
Being with the team. Just knowing that like either we're all Pacifica or we have roots to it. We're all connected in some way. Just working with the team is awesome because we're highlighting, we're interviewing, Talia's interviewing people and we get to work the cameras. We get to see Talia ask these great questions, feel the emotion from the people she's interviewed. It's just, I wish I could bottle up the feelings and just share it with everyone because it's unreal.
Well, I think something that's so cool is that as a photographer, you get to capture those moments.
Yes.
And even though you may not be able to express it verbally, I think when we get to finally see these photos for like the documentary, I'm sure we'll be able to get a little bit of that feeling that you experienced being there firsthand. But I think that's just like the magic of photography. It's like, again, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so I just think when you're in spaces like that, or when we're collaborating on a shoot, or when we're working on these random ass like passion projects that we have, I think that a lot of times I just want people to look at these images and be like, damn, I haven't seen anything like that from people within our community because there's a lot of firsts that are happening within creative spaces for our
I'd
community.
love to see it.
And I get so hyped when I see like Paris Global like
Oh my
doing
gosh,
choreography for Rihanna.
doing
That's
it.
bucket list. That's a bucket list thing. I
Oh,
want to help
definitely.
Paris on a show for a fashion show. We see like Veronica Pomee walking in shows for New York Fashion Week or when she was on Sports Illustrated.
Yep.
It's just so cool to see how much growth we're experiencing. And I feel like me and you are kind of just here riding the wave
Definitely.
because I feel like maybe people may not appreciate it right now, but maybe 20 years from now, they're going to be like, damn, George has been doing this for a long ass time. And maybe you'll have your own documentary one day. Just kidding. Nobody would want to watch it.
I wouldn't want to watch that. Delete.
But like kind of just going back to the documentary, I just think it's so cool that this was kind of like something that kind of bridged the gap between athleticism and creatives. Because before it was kind of like two separate things, but that is right up your alley of even doing like fashion editorials for athletes. It's just such a cool thing to see that you want people to rep their culture, but you want to do it in a way that's like modern, that's trendy, that's
Yes.
fashionable. And that's just something that I applaud you for because it's not
Thank
really
you.
a space that a lot of people have tried to tread, but you're not afraid to do it. I mean,
Nope.
again, don't hit him up if you're not photogenic and if you're not a D1.
But if you're hella talented and you're
You're
not
hella
photogenic,
talented.
we'll work with you.
We'll make it work. Pay for your wardrobe.
Yes,
And I will
please.
be there.
And our tickets to a game.
I was like, maybe we'll do like you give us tickets for a game and we'll help you with the photo shoot. But I just know that like with sports and even like shooting concerts, like I know you shoot concerts all the time. You just did a concert for Iam Thongi when he came out here for Salt Lake City.
Kai. So
How was
awesome.
that? Like, what is it like shooting at different events like that?
It is so cool because it's a breather for me because I'm not posing anyone. It's just capture the moment as is.
That's true. It's like there's just with different aspects of photography, you're just catching the right moments at concerts. But there are some dope ass concert photographers out there
Oh
that
my
I'm just
gosh.
like obsessed with.
Yes.
But I'm curious, do you have any like negative experiences from shooting like concerts or anything like that at all? Like, are there any like ups and downs?
I haven't so far. I guess the only negative experiences I've had would be just with security, just because like they don't know what's going on. So for a concert, if you don't know, sometimes you're allowed only 3 songs for every set of who's performing. And so sometimes I'll be up there shooting in the pit where just for photographers, and security would ask me to leave on the first song. I was like, I just got here.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you can't
Oh,
be
I didn't
here.
even know that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And so the security will change for obviously for every show. And so sometimes I'll get problems or sometimes they'll be hella chill, just let me be there the whole time.
Yeah.
So other than that, nothing really.
Speaking of concerts, I need to bring this up because
I think I know what it is.
I need to know why Sammy J blocked you on Instagram. Because you were shooting a concert of his.
Yeah, well, not his. He was in the concert. It was back then IRF,
Okay.
which is now the new version of it is Pacific Feats in the Bay Area.
Okay. And so I know that you were shooting at this concert and for whatever reason he blocked you. Can you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit more about that? Because that really pisses me the F off.
Yeah, so in 2018, shout out David Rhythm. I went with him. He was performing at IRF.
Okay.
And so because I got the media pass, I was shooting other artists too. And so David Rhythm performed on another stage earlier, and then all the other artists were performing on another stage towards the evening. And that's where I went right after David Rhythm performed. And so I was shooting, and I shot Sammy J's set, and I posted the photos online on my Instagram, on my story. And I tagged him, tagged the manager, I think, or maybe the manager saw it. I can't remember. And then once the Sammy J got the attention of my photos, he's like, "Oh, these are cool. Can I have them?" And then
So he messaged you.
he did. And then he asked me, who do I give credit to? And I have screenshots, so I have to look for them. And I was like, oh, just me, because
I actually have the
them.
screenshot.
Yeah, I'm the photographer, just credit me whenever. And then I can't remember it when he posted it. Maybe it was a few days after, because this was back in 2018. My cousin noticed that he posted the photos I took, but didn't give me photo cred. And then she commented under the photo, give George Ngatuvai photo cred. And then he commented, Like, I didn't even ask him to take my photos. Or, like, and then deleted that comment, but then
Ew.
blocked both of us. And then that's it. And then ever since then, I've been like, I don't care.
What the?
What
Okay.
happened? So
No one's too good to freaking credit a photographer, okay?
I know.
Can we talk about when Kendrick Lamar dropped his album and he credited his
Yes,
photographer on
LeBron
Instagram?
James.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are so many people who credit their photographers out there. And I'm like, you're never too good to just throw somebody the bone, you know? Especially when it wasn't even like his event.
Yeah.
That just makes me mad. And for somebody who asks people for money on their Instagram story, he should not be like that. And there were other stories that came out about him not being the best person. But maybe he was having an off week or an off year.
Probably.
We'll give you the benefit of the doubt, Sammy J. So free George from Instagram prison. Follow him back. I'm sure he would love to give you more photos that you could share. Actually, you're blocked. He's probably using photos that you probably shared before.
Oh, sure, I'm dead. Never know.
But I just think, like, again, seeing like all the work that you've done within photography is just so dope because you don't limit yourself to like one category. You give yourself the time and space that you need to really venture out and explore these different things with fashion, with athleticism and athletes. I love that you're like, your bread and butter was like cultural editorials for a long time. But again, it's not just like one thing. And they're all so different from each other. And like you said, they all need a different kind of attention and love.
Yeah.
But I know that everybody listening is probably just going to be excited to see what else you're going to be working on. This documentary is going to be a really cool thing for them to tune into. And I can't wait for everybody to listen. I can't wait for my opportunity to like watch it and like really tune into these stories about Polynesian football players. But if anything, just keep an eye out for George. He's been doing the damn thing for as long as I've known him. And so it's only up from here. Tease up. Bye.